Welcome to Podcast, the Business of Dentistry podcast, brought to you by Practice Plan. Podcast delivers the best business advice, real-life stories, and practical hints and tips to make your practice a more profitable and sustainable business. And now, here's your host.
Hello and welcome to Practice Plan's podcast. My name's Hazel Dockery, and with me today is John Greenshaw, who is owner and director of Merlin Telecoms. And we're going to be talking about something that's happening in 2025 to do with telecommunications that will have a huge impact upon how practices run their businesses. So, John, please explain what's going to be happening next year.
2025 it's been coming along for many years. The delights of Ofcom and Openreach to get to bring the UK telecommunications system up to what I would call international standards. If you think about the UK telecom system, started at the beginning of the last century. The UK, with us being, first to develop many things, as in first in the Industrial Revolution, we've had every iteration of telecommunications that has ever existed. So we have had literally everything. So when the UK comes up against international competition against like China and what have you, we look very bad. And the main reason for that is we have to deal with all our legacy systems. So what has been agreed with Openreach and Ofcom is that in 2025, all of the legacy systems become obsolete and are terminated. So what that means is the new technologies that have been adopted, like by China and what have you, is fiber connections, data-only connections, and the numbers that used to be associated with copper lines, be it your analog line coming into your house, or the ISDN 2s or 30s coming into larger businesses, become obsolete. They get switched off. So those numbers, they don't disappear, but you have to manage their direction with respect to, do you still need them, and where are you going to host them? Because in essence, they go from being located at your local exchange to sitting within the, shall we call it, for want of a better terminology, sat in the internet cloud. So that is the direction of travel. So all your data connections that are currently associated with a line number, like a line and broadband, will become a data-only connection with no associated line with it. So if you get a fiber connection coming into it, it's just a fiber connection and it passes data. So all your voice communications will then go from being copper lines out to the exchange to bits of data on a data connection.
So basically, it's a big tidy up. Yeah, sorry, it's a big tidy up of everything that's gone on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not acceptable, I assume, to just sit back and let it happen. There will be things that people will need to do. Is that correct?
Correct. If it gets to December 2025, as we've been informed by Openreach and Ofcom, is if there will be a last reach out, but you don't want to be leaving it till December 2025, because if we're reaching out and we can't get hold of you, and you're not wanting to, I don't want to do it. It'll be switched off,
and that'll be it. You'll have nothing there then. Oh my God,
Correct.
So this is almost as big as the Y2K bug then, is it really, in certain respects?
Yes and no, because there's an awful lot of work that's occurring. We're going through all our client base now. We are talking to all our clients to make sure that they are 2025 compliant. All the new stuff that we are putting in is already compliant, all good to go. So there is an awful lot of work to get there. But the issue is just making sure that you are aware and know the consequences if you fail to do anything, which I dare say the vast majority of people will be being bothered for. And it's a case of if your telecom supplier is bothering you, it's worth maybe having that conversation with them to make sure that you are compliant, if nothing else.
Yeah. So head in the sand is not an acceptable response to this then at all.
Correct. Because the last thing you
Yeah.
want to find is that you're in January 2026 and it doesn't work. Because that's on you.
Yeah, you will. You would really be in stuck then, wouldn't you? So when people are, I suppose this is also not just a problem; it's an opportunity as well, isn't it? For
Correct.
people. Yeah. So how,
Very,
what sort of
very much so.
what sort of things can people get out of it then?
It's when we look at the opportunities that are there, it's when we are dealing with practices that are, shall we call it, switched on to understanding what they want and
Yeah.
what their clients need. That what we found is that is the best conversations that we have is when we're dealing with practices that understand what their requirements are. And I
Yeah.
would put into that is understanding the number of calls coming in, how they want people to be answered, how quickly they want to be answered, and what messaging that they would require. So basically keeping people informed and knowledgeable about what is happening to their call. Not everybody wants to have long wait times, but if you know how long you're going to be waiting is an advantage.
Mm.
But it's also that thing of, as a practice owner, what resources do you want to put into answering calls quickly to make sure that your clients are well looked after? And it's a double-edged sword between providing a service to your clients that's
Yeah.
going to make sure that your business thrives going on. I mean, one of the good examples that we've had in dealing with dental practices is like subliminal messaging, as in when your call gets answered, the message becomes, if you are an existing client, please press 1. The subliminal message is, our existing clients are important to us, we'll deal with them first.
Yeah.
And then if you're wanting to become a client, please press 2. The messaging there is, I want to become a client because I know that they're going to look after me, because that's the messaging. And it's as subtle as that to get that messaging across to your clients. And then when you are being transferred into those particular options, it's then how quickly and how urgently you would then look after them clients to show them that as the saying goes, show them a bit of love and provide that service.
So really,
So it is always worthwhile giving some thought to how you as an organization can put resources into making sure calls are answered professionally, efficiently, and quickly. And secondly, how you want your clients to be greeted by the telephone system itself.
Yeah. So this is actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's going to give you more functionality, isn't it? You can think broader about your customer service on the phone, I suppose, with this. What other things
Precisely.
can people expect with that, with the new systems?
Well, it all becomes making it more personal.
Mm.
You hear about it in marketing and all that sort of stuff. It's about because some of the ones that we've done is we can get professional voiceovers and all that sort of stuff, and it's wonderful.
Mm.
However, when the practice owner does it, that says, "I really want you," it's putting their brand on the call.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to do it because like my deepest, darkest northern accent. But it's that thing of, I'm here, I care, I know you're waiting, and we're going to look after you. And it's coming from the horse's mouth rather than a professional voice actor.
Yeah.
Little things matter, and it's being able to have a wish list of what you would like to happen for your clients, and then the second thing is then providing you as a practice with data, and this is the important bit, providing you with the data so you become much more knowledgeable about what is happening with the call flows into your business. And then you can, as you get more data, you can become better at managing call flows. I'm not going to teach every practice here when the busy times are, but Monday mornings, do you have more people answering the phones?
Yeah.
Because there's a huge volume of calls coming in, or do you let people wait?
Yeah.
Do you change the behaviors of the practice to meet the call profile, of which, if you've got more data and real data as to when things are happening, then you can better manage your practice to manage the peaks and flows of calls coming into the practice.
So it comes back to the if you can measure it, you can manage it phrase, really, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's having a system that's going to provide you with the data that's going to allow you to manage your business with respect to providing a service for your clients.
Yeah. So what's I mean, it's a bit of a minefield. I'm sure a lot of people who are listening will have introduced various telephone systems. I mean, I spoke to a practice the other week, and they'd had a system in for quite a long time, but it really wasn't doing what they wanted it to do. And so, what would advice would you give to people who are, going to be addressing this change and looking at an appropriate system for them? How would you advise them to go about doing things?
Well, first of all, there's no avoiding that you might need to do a little bit of work yourself.
Yeah.
In covering off what we've just spoken about, is understand what you would like your clients to experience when they talk to your practice.
Hmm.
Understand what information that you would like to receive, so you can better manage that information coming in. And then when you've got armed with that information and that wish list,
Yeah.
that becomes the bedrock of what you need your telephone system to do. The danger that often occurs when you then speaking to suppliers, you sat in front of somebody who brings in a very nice shiny little piece of kit, but in reality you're not interested in kit, you're interested in what the outcomes are from your system. And
Yeah.
ultimately that is the base measure of what am I going to get, and is it going to be deliverable?
Yeah.
And that is what we find is, as we take over systems, it's that thing of being able to provide the knowledge, so we call it the wit and repartee, to the practice as to what's actually happening,
Mm.
whilst also enabling them to have the ability to provide a comforting, reassuring message to people that call in. So
Yeah.
you get the best of both worlds. So when you've done the work to discover what you would need, and I would say what I've mentioned would be a starting point. There's
Mm.
all sorts of whistles and bells that you can add to that are particular and peculiar to each individual practice.
Yeah.
It then becomes, when you're having a discussion with a supplier, start with asking questions of, okay, then these are the things that we would like. But first of all, what are your your basic terms and conditions before we even start looking at handsets and stuff like that? Is, are you going to tie us into a 3, 5, 7 year contract?
Mm.
And to my mind, anything over 3 years should have alarm bells ringing, for the simple reason you want to know that let's put it another way, the shorter the contract, the better chance that you've got of what you are agreeing to will be delivered. For
Yeah.
the simple reason, if you can walk away from the contract because they haven't delivered, that's good for you. So the starting point is, if you can find somebody that's going to work with a month's agreement, a 30-day agreement or something like that, then that's telling you something about that they are prepared to back their systems to provide you what they're going to say. So it gives them significant less opportunity to provide you with, well, as the saying goes, selling you what you want to hear rather than selling you what can be delivered.
Yeah, I
If
mean, if
that makes
someone's
sense.
prepared, it does. If someone's prepared to just say, right, well, 30 days notice, you can walk away. That's a risk for them if they're not confident that they're going to be able to deliver it, isn't it, really? So you'd hope
Correct.
that they really are. You're getting almost a cast iron guarantee there. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is there are options. There's things that you can look at with respect to what it's going. The other costs, which are, there's the recurring costs, as in the
Hmm.
cost of the system and calls and all that sort of stuff. And then there's the, shall we call it, the setup stuff, the setup costs, the
Yeah.
cost of having a guy on site to go and do it all. There's the equipment cost, and then on occasions there's contract buyout costs, depending on how you want to look at all of them. However you slice and dice it,
Mm.
those costs will need to be paid by someone.
Yeah.
And it isn't going to be the telecoms provider. It will be you as a practice. So
Yeah.
don't be in any delusion that you're getting something for free. You will be paying for kit, you'll be paying for installation, you may be paying for contract buyouts. So it sometimes pays to be mindful of, okay, then how much are the handsets? And is it worthwhile for that, shall we call it a 30-day agreement, for you to have ownership of the handsets from day one?
Mm.
And the benefit of that is they're yours, and making sure that they are unlocked, that they're not locked to that particular system, that you can
Right.
then move those handsets from supplier to supplier, because all voice over IP handsets are movable because they just
Mm.
need to be programmed. There are many suppliers out there who will, oh, we only do ours. Well, maybe that's an alarm bell.
Mm.
If they can't program what you've got, then that's perhaps an issue. So look to suppliers that we are happy to work with you with your handsets. Make sure compatibility and compliance. Make sure that if things do go wrong, who owns the phones? Can I move them away from you? Are they locked to your network? Because telecommunications companies like to be, that's mine, keep off it, whilst we'll give you the fabrication of control. You don't really have any, and that's the thing to look for, in that making sure that you have as much control over your system as you possibly can, as in ownership of the handsets. The handsets are not locked to that particular system, and that you've got a short-term contract. So it might cost you more in the short term, but the benefit is you have that freedom of choice and movement, which is
Yeah.
a very powerful thing to have in this day and
Yeah.
age. The other thing as well to mention, that if you do buy the equipment and you do pay for the installation and there's no buyout, what's the purpose of a longer term agreement?
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
And then you think, and the reality of that is, this is me speaking as an owner of a telecommunications company. If you were ever to sell a telecommunications company, it's based on the value of the length of contracts that you have. So by getting that long-term contract, you're increasing the value of the telecoms company, not the benefits to you as an organization to get a service. So
Okay.
beware long-term contracts.
You make it sound like there are cowboys around. I mean, do people have to be wary?
Yes, ask the questions, purely and simply because when you're getting into a telecommunications contract, there's the costs of calls, costs of the system. That is, it's like a Microsoft license. It's you're buying a service.
Hmm.
It's that's all you're buying. There's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no need, or there's no financial implication, unless, again, it's all to do with valuing the telecoms company rather than anything else. of being in a long-term contract. A longer-term contract where you are paying for equipment costs over 24 months or paying for that, okay, you can understand that because you're going to get ownership at the end of it. Be mindful that you're not getting into paying for equipment that you are not going to own as well.
Yeah.
Because we do come across that on many occasions where, oh, you're out of contract, the funds are ours, we're coming to pick them up. And all of a sudden you lose. And that does
Yeah.
happen.
Gosh,
So
that's dodgy.
I couldn't possibly comment, but that's what we come across. That's what we come across on many occasions, whereby there are, well, for want of a better word, there are some sharp practices
Yeah.
where some salespeople may well tell you what you want to hear. And before you know it, you've signed into a 5-year contract. You'll never see that salesperson again. And you're fighting with the people who are looking to provide what's on the contract,
Yeah.
rather than what you've agreed. So if you are in that situation, what I would suggest that you do is before you sign any contract, is all the things that you are agreed to, is to get that particular salesman to write on either headed paper or on a confirmed email, on a business email, the things that you have agreed to that they can perform to.
Right.
Such that if you are in a, shall we call it, a 5-year agreement, and they are not able to provide you with the service that you've detailed, as in you want all the data, you want all this, you want the ability to chop and change things as your practice evolves. If that becomes, well, you haven't delivered on that, they are in breach of contract.
Right.
And if you haven't got that in writing, you're in a long-term contract that you've got no hope.
Yeah.
And if that makes sense.
So there's quite a lot to think about. If people, have people got enough time to get things sorted? Is this a long process?
I would say if you're a practice owner, if you have a meeting with your senior team and your reception team, have a conversation with what are the issues that you experience and what would make it better for your clients. That is how long I would suggest it would take to get your head around what you want as a practice. You're talking about a week, 2 weeks to get your head around it. Talk to other dentists, talk to the likes of yourselves, practice plan. Are you aware of any organisations that are worth contacting who we can talk to that's going to give us good advice? And use referral as a point of difference, and have a conversation with a number of suppliers. Talk to your existing supplier, what can they do, and talk to maybe some recommended or some other dental practices that you're aware of that you've spoken to and you've had a good experience. Use that as a starting point. Having a conversation with a telecommunications provider will only take an hour, 2 hours for you to get an idea of what they can do, how they're going to do it, and how they should be able to demonstrate the system for you and show you the data that they can provide, how they can build the system for you. It then comes down to going through the tick boxes of how long they're going to tie you into a contract for. Are they going to do? Can they provide you with what you need to happen? Can they provide you with a short-term contract? Will they provide you with unlocked phone, so should things go wrong, you've got an opportunity to get out of it? What is their service like? What happens when things go wrong? Can you validate, check on their systems up? Do they get good reviews and all this sort of thing? Do the basics, but have that conversation. But similarly, if they're not prepared to back in writing what you agree, then that again should start to have alarm bells ringing. So it shouldn't take long. And if you look at the regulated process to migrate from one system to another, it's 10 to 15 days it takes. So I'd say if you give yourself a month, 2 months, you should be able to do it comfortably.
Right.
And it's what I would suggest is the hardest part is understanding what you would want for your business, because you might not be aware of what. So you should be able to get good data for you to allow you to manage your business. And it's also should be enable you to change the system to give you and your clients the best possible experience, and then to be able to evolve that over time. And then you're looking at a supplier that is happy to work with you to evolve your system to make sure that you not only understand how it's working, but will then evolve the system with your requirements to make sure that you can do a tweak here, a tweak there. What's the measure? Can you see an improvement? And to work with you to make sure that you get the maximum benefits out of the system. That's ultimately what you're looking for.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, John. I'm sure people will find this extremely useful when they're looking for their new system. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolute pleasure, Hazel. You have a good one.